Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hospitality Room presented by Mascot Media. Bobby Swofford, Blair Cartwright with you, ready to talk sports, food, whatever. Um, I, First off, Mr. Swofford, I think we're all going to be depressed this weekend because there's no
Yeah,
football.
yeah. I had that conversation at lunch today. So this is almost like our football lives are in hospice right now, and
Yes.
we just don't have a whole lot left. We might have a week, 8, 9, 10 days left, and then after that, we got to pull the plug.
Hmm.
It's really a sad time. I mean, so we've got to really soak it all in. Also, that said month or said lunch today, we started the menu planning for next Sunday, so that got me
Ooh,
a little excited.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of hard. I know last weekend was championship weekend, but it's still
Hmm.
hard to believe next week is the Super Bowl.
Right.
Is that because the weather's been nice this week or just
Yeah.
so much going on they really haven't had a chance to think about it? And with the week off.
Yeah. And the week off always slows things down. I mean, it results in a better Super Bowl.
Hmm.
We haven't had a real clunker since what Panthers Broncos 8, 9 years ago.
Oh gosh,
In
yeah.
the Super Bowl. So I mean, I think it benefits the game, but yeah, it definitely slows you down as a football fan. With the head coaching searches and hires excluded, there hasn't been much going on. And so if you're like myself and kind of like you are, and you don't pay a lot of attention to the NBA and hockey,
Hmm.
there's not a lot to take your time other than work. And this time of year is pretty busy for you and I, unfortunately. So
Yes.
we've had to
But
actually
that's
do our day
good.
jobs a little
Yeah.
bit. It's
Yeah.
tough though to keep that momentum going. That you're on such a high because the regular season ending and the playoffs have been so good, and now we've got the Pro Bowl this weekend, which is not going to be on my television at all.
You know, the thought of someone actually going to Orlando and buying a ticket to go to the Pro Bowl just I don't know whether to feel sorry for or to pray for that person because I
Right.
mean, but and obviously there's people that do it or else they wouldn't do it. But
Hmm.
I mean, really, I was
You could
just
give me free tickets to every event at the Pro Bowl, a free hotel room for the entire trip, and free airfare. And I don't know that I'd be guaranteed to go because I'd have to
no,
buy my own food. And like,
yeah,
unless you give me like a $500 gift card to go along with that, I'm probably still not going. That's how little I care about this.
yeah. I mean, why do I want to watch NFL players play flag football?
Right.
I mean, I get it. The NFL's trying to promote flag football for girls is huge. I mean, it's
Hmm.
becoming the hot new high school sport, but that doesn't mean I want to watch pros play it. So,
Well, and also too that it's becoming, I guess it's joining the Olympics before too long, and so like the NFL is really trying to push that because they're going to have some other
ah,
players in the NFL play in the Olympics. But I'm with you. Like some of the skills competition's kind of cool.
yeah, that's
I've
interesting.
always thought the skills competition, like when the NBA started doing it, of course, and what the NHL does for their All
Oh,
Star Weekend
yes.
is really cool. So that like, but football doesn't translate to that. Like it's really cool to watch, a quarterback throw a ball into the net from 50 yards out,
Hmm.
but we're not getting the best players anyway. Like
Yeah.
the elite of the elite's not going. It's kind of like an all-star game where everybody opts out. Like nobody
Yeah.
wants to be there. And so instead of getting, the 1, 2, 3, and 4 best quarterbacks in the NFL, you're getting like number 7, number 9, number 12, and number 16.
Hmm.
Like CJ Stroud had a great year. He's not a Pro Bowler. Gardner Minshew is in the Pro Bowl. Like, come on.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what's the offense? What's the skill for the offensive line? Knocking over a tackling
Right.
dummy, or
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, it's just yeah.
hammering
And
buffalo wings is about the best skill they got.
well, and once you've seen it once, well, but let's face it, there's there's nothing else on TV this weekend. I guess college
Hmm.
basketball, but I mean I mean, and we're about to dive into the championships, but good Lord, I mean the ratings,
Yeah.
50 million plus.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't. It's going to be interesting to see what the ratings for the Pro Bowl are, just from the aspect we can't get enough football.
Hmm. Well, ESPN was smart too. They loaded up the college basketball schedule for Saturday. I don't know
Hmm.
if they've got 3 top 15 matchups on ESPN coming up on Saturday. So like they made the schedule knowing, hey, people are going to need something to watch this weekend. let's go crazy. And that's
Hmm.
why, if you pay attention, obviously you saw it during the championship game broadcast, the huge golf tournament this weekend, the biggest pro-am they
Oh
have
yeah,
at Pebble
Pebble
Beach this
Beach.
weekend. So like they're trying to like fill that void that is our hearts right now without football, but it just can't be full. I mean, like
No,
our hearts are the Grand Canyon this weekend, and they're throwing the Arkansas River through it. We need the Pacific Ocean.
yeah. I mean, and there's no Tiger Woods, so it's like,
Right.
honestly, why am I
Yeah.
going to watch Pebble? All right, let's get to the championships. We'll start first with the NFC Championship because everybody starts first with the NFC Championship. Lions, Niners.
They
I,
lined up.
I mean, the Lions came out and it was just like, are you kidding me? They're gonna steamroll the 49ers.
Yeah.
And then I I honestly I actually fell asleep at one point, but I woke up and it was like a game. But it's like, how does that happen? I mean, it
Yeah. So
was stunning, wasn't it?
it was, and two things happened. Number one, San Francisco finally made the adjustment to stop the running game.
Hmm.
They started moving those defensive ends and those tackles down. I mean, essentially, what they had was a guy over the center and men over the two guards. And said, if you're going to beat us, you got to run to the outside. And Detroit, which dominated up front for the first two quarters,
Hmm.
didn't make that adjustment for a couple drives. And they finally, tried a pitch play that worked pretty well to Gibbs, and I think they got another reverse, not the first one, to either Williams or Amon Ra. And so they finally get a little success, but like they just kind of hit their head against the wall for a couple drives, and all, of course, all the momentum was there for San Francisco. But two, I mean, Detroit did what I kind of thought they were going to do. They acted like they were Detroit.
Hmm.
They didn't know what they were doing in that moment. I'm all for going for the jugular. I love going for it on fourth down. They've done it all year. But when you've got a chance to tie the game under 10 minutes, you got to kick the field goal. The first one's
Yeah.
fine. Granted, it should have been a cop pass. Reynolds dropped it on the 4th and 3. That would have the field goal would have put them up 17, mind you.
Hmm.
But you got to kick the field goal to tie the game because
Oh
no
yeah.
matter what from that point, even if you let them go down the field and score, you still have a chance to tie, if not win the game going for two. Instead, you don't get it. They have a shorter field, not necessarily a short field. They go down and score, and now you're down 2 possessions, and you don't have a chance to win the game. That's to me where the game was lost.
Yeah, the psychology of it. I mean, and everybody talked about, well, the Lions went for it on fourth down more than everybody. Well, yeah, I get that. That's great.
Yeah.
They were 12th in the league in fourth down conversion percentage
Hmm.
rate. So, and they were 50%, which, yeah, everything in life is 50-50. And they literally were 50%. Now, they were better last year than this year by a
Hmm.
percentage point. But, I mean, honestly, I was shocked in a sense they went for it when they had the opportunity to go up 17, because just I think the psychology of being up 3 scores
Yep.
as opposed to two. Now, if it's fourth, I forget what it was. It was like 4th and 4, wasn't it? I don't think it was 4th and 2, but maybe it was. But it was, I don't know. Everything was going their way at that point. It's like, man, kick the field goal, put them down
Yeah.
17. It's just the psychology of it. And I think that gets lost in the analytics because it's a different game. All of a sudden, and granted, they didn't get it. And I heard a couple
Hmm.
49ers talking about it. Well, then, boom, you don't get it. The momentum shifts. They go down and score. Now you're reeling and they've
Hmm.
got momentum. Whereas you kick it, you still have the momentum. Now they're down 3 scores. They're not playing well. They're forced to change what they do. I don't know. I just think it plays better. But then, yeah, but especially the opportunity to kick the field goal to tie. You got to tie the ball game.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, if you go for it there, um,
You better be damn
you
sure
better
you're going to
be
get
there. And I mean, Josh Reynolds, I mean, could you shrink in any more in a huge situation? I mean, you dropped the fourth down pass, and yeah, the ball was a little behind you, but it hit you in
but
both hands,
still.
not a hand. It hit you in both hands. And then the 3rd and 12 or 13, and you were wide open on that crosser, and it hit you right in the numbers, and it goes
Yeah.
between the wickets, which would have been a first down, which gives you a little momentum, stunts a little bit of theirs. For a receiver who's been pretty good and reliable most of the season, Detroit saw one of their better options just wither away to nothing in one of the biggest moments of the game.
Yeah. Well, the interception off the face
Oh
mask and
man.
Baptist, when that happens, you you damn sure kick the field goal because things are not going your way. I mean,
Hmm.
it's like, yeah. So why leave it to chance? But I mean, it was
Well,
almost like
yeah, I
the
mean,
Lions realized, oh my God, we're going to go to the Super Bowl,
yeah.
and the human element kicked in.
So after they and this is what we're just absolutely crazy too, just the
Hmm.
momentum of football. So after they fail the fourth down when they're up 24-10, got a
Hmm.
chance to kick the field goal. 5 plays later, San Francisco's in the end zone, right?
Hmm.
Next play, you fumble. You give them a
Yeah.
short field. They're in the end zone 4 plays later. You go 3 and out on your next drive. They march down the field, kick a field goal. You miss another fourth down. They march down the field and score a touchdown. I mean, just like that, literally
Hmm.
consecutive possessions. I mean, sometimes you don't have that bad of luck an entire season, and Detroit mashed that all into a quarter and a half.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, and suddenly it snowballs and it's out of control, and you don't know what happened. And
Hmm.
yeah, it was just unbelievable. But it was a great, I mean, it was great theater, especially coming off the AFC Championship game in which the Chiefs prevailed to beat the Ravens. And that was a white knuckler the whole way. I was shocked. And I know it's been beat to death, but the Ravens were not the Ravens.
Playoff Lamar showed up.
Well, not only that, but I mean, the one run, they ran the ball. I forget who it was. Rip, boom, 21-yard run. And it's like,
Yep.
damn, we're in trouble. And then they quit running the ball.
Yeah.
It was
Six rushing
insane.
attempts.
Yeah.
6 rushing attempts from the team who led the league in rushing from their running
Yeah.
backs.
And that's Kansas City's Achilles heel is run defense. And you just rip one off for 21 and you're like, damn.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to get theirs. I mean, that's inevitable at
Yeah.
this point, and it'll happen in the Super Bowl. You're not going to shut anybody down. But it's like, man, that was way too easy. And then they
It
went
was.
away from it. It
Yeah.
was
That's
insane.
it's what Baltimore does in the playoffs. I mean, it's mind-boggling, and we all thought that with Todd Monken as their new offensive coordinator, everything was going to change, and he
Yeah.
still, it doesn't make any sense for a team that's that good to continually, consistently make bad choices. Uh, and part of me thinks, the quarterback run game is such a big part of what they do.
Hmm.
Lamar refused to run the ball on Sunday.
Yeah.
How many times did he hold the ball for 2 or 3 seconds too long, let alone a tick or two?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, there was countless opportunities. Okay, option 1, 2's not open. That's where he tucks it and goes. I truly think that Lamar Jackson has heard so many times of people who obviously are much more important and have a lot bigger following than me say he can't beat you throwing with his arm. And
Hmm.
so I think he was trying to prove all those doubters wrong with one game, and in turn prove them all right by trying to do that. I mean, the numbers 272 yards are inflated because they had to throw the ball every down, and
Yeah.
they chose to throw the ball every down. But 20 of 37 passing is probably 10 times better than I expected the numbers to. He looked
Oh,
awful.
yeah.
And the interception that he threw, and I texted you as soon as it hit the defensive back's
Yeah.
hands. Two receivers or two defenders are on the receiver at the snap of the football and a safety over the top. And if
Yeah.
that's not a predetermined throw, I don't know what is. And of course, when you have a quarterback who's predetermined where he's going to throw the football, you're never going to win at a high level.
Yeah. And their receivers were not giving him any help.
No, they
Live,
weren't.
where was Lively? Flowers made some nice plays, but then the immaturity showed up.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really fault him for the fumble at the goal line because I mean that's one of those things. The guy makes a hell of a play, and there's not much you can do. And you're trying to make a play, but I mean, it was just like John Harbaugh. I mean, why do you not grab Monken at halftime and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
let's try running the damn ball at least one series,
Right.
and then see where it goes from there?" Because your defense did everything you needed them to do. Granted, Kansas City scores the first two drives, but you
Mm-hmm.
shut them down after that.
That's right.
You just need some offense,
Yeah.
and then you try to be Air Baltimore when running is your thing. It was just
Yeah.
bizarre.
So their second possession, they go 3 and out on the opening drive, but they run the football. They've got good balance. They put it in the end zone. All of a sudden, it's 7-7. You think, okay, here we go.
Hmm.
Did nothing.
Yeah, it was just, it was nuts. And you
Yeah.
made it, and granted, Spags called a great game, but you made
Yeah.
it easy on him too.
Hmm.
So it's like, yeah, they run blitz, but yeah, guy, you get past it. It's
Hmm.
just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So Chiefs and 49ers.
And
So
I've said this until I'm blue in the face, and I'll continue to say it with this Kansas City team, this year's
yes.
version of it, and their lack of playmakers on the outside, right? You
Hmm.
agree with that?
Yeah.
How every team in the league didn't say, I'm going to double team Travis Kelsey and make somebody else beat me,
Hmm.
and none of them done it. And on the biggest stage, I mean, you've got Kansas City backed up third and 15, 16, whatever it was, and you go zone and let Travis Kelsey get a simple flag route from the slot. You don't touch him at the line of scrimmage. You give him a free release, and all of a sudden he is wide open. Nobody within 5 yards of him at the first down stick.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me how a team who's that good can continually make the same mistake over and over. Because you know what? After you go for 9 catches for 100 yards in the first half, maybe you start double teaming him. But they chose not to,
Yeah.
and he continually torched them.
Well, and you have to because he improvises his routes. I mean,
Yes.
granted, you plan for it in practice, but he's not running. I mean, he's totally improvising it, how he gets to the spot.
Yeah.
And a double team's the only way to stop it. Yeah, make Rice beat you, make Valdez Scantling beat you, whatever. I mean, Pacheco does enough in the run game to keep defenses somewhat honest. But yeah, I'm surprised you don't, you chuck him at the line and you double team him. It's
The number of times
crazy.
that not just Baltimore, everybody, they refuse to hit him at the line of scrimmage. Like, why do they
Hmm.
continually give him a free release? Gronkowski never got a free release in his entire career.
Well, yeah, I don't
And
know. It's a good question.
but yeah, you give this guy a free release every time. Makes zero sense to me.
Yeah. Well, Mike McDonald will now be calling a different defense. Got the
Yeah.
job today with the Seahawks. A little surprising because most thought that's where Dan Quinn would end up.
Hmm.
Well, as a result, Dan Quinn's going to Washington to coach the Commanders.
Yeah.
Jerry says the Cowboys are, of course, before all this goes down, Jerry's like, oh, we're all in on 2024. Well, now he's going to lose most of his defensive staff. Now
Yeah.
you've got Micah Parsons saying, well, I just line up where they tell me to line up. He's like blaming the coaches for the defense not being good.
Hmm.
It's like a soap opera now in Dallas.
Yep.
Um,
Bill Belichick, your defensive coordinator for the Cowboys next year.
I'm well, and Jerry said he never talked to Bill about the job,
Right.
which I
It's
find
never
hard to
open.
believe. Yeah,
Well, the
but
job's technically
still.
not open, so you
Yeah,
can't
but
come out and say, "Hey, I talked to him about it."
that's true. But it's like, and I mean, Dan Quinn to the Washington, I don't think anyone had on the bingo card. I thought, and correct, maybe you thought it as well, when Ben Johnson told the Commanders, no, I'm
Hmm.
going back to Detroit, which are words no one's ever really said. You thought, okay, Belichick's going to go to the Commanders because, or because you figured Quinn was going to the Seahawks.
Uh-huh.
Belichick goes to the Commander or Vrabel, but
Yeah.
but
I think
now,
Belichick and Vrabel are both smart enough to know that, hey, you can't win in Washington. I know they got new ownership, and I know that
mm-hmm,
the landscape is supposed to be different. But until they get better facilities and they get a couple years removed from it, you're not going to
mm-hmm,
be successful there, especially as good as the Cowboys and the Eagles are right now. I know that they both collapsed late in the season, but it's not a
yeah.
job that I feel like you can go win right away. They're not good enough. They've got so many holes offensively that it's a 3 or 4 year rebuild. And I don't think either one of those coaches want to do that.
Well, I've heard thought that the Redskin, I knew I was going to say that, the Commanders and the Bears swap picks because Caleb doesn't want to go to Chicago.
Hmm.
Washington takes it.
So here's my deal about that. So you can take a quarterback, and so whoever's number two,
Mm-hmm.
takes what I guess Drake May. Would
Drake
you
May.
rather have Drake May for the number two pick, or would you just trade the Bears a second or a third round pick and get Justin Fields, and then you can add Marvin Harrison?
Ooh, I like that.
So, like
To
all
me,
these
that
teams that
makes
are
more
talking like,
sense.
I'm gonna trade up and get a quarterback. Well, why not trade it and get a quarterback who's already proven he can be a little bit competitive in this league?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that makes more sense. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. has more longevity and upside
Yeah.
impact wise than Caleb Williams. Just something about him. I don't know what it is. I don't know that he's the sure thing. Of course, everyone said
Hmm.
Trevor Lawrence was a sure thing, once in a generational quarterback. I mean, not that he's not good, but it's not really playing out. No one saw CJ Stroud coming. No one saw Patrick Mahomes coming.
Hmm.
It almost behooves you not to take the can't miss quarterback.
Yeah. And
Bryce
especially when you
Young.
have a quarterback that the jury's out on. Like the Bears were a competitive team in the
Mm-hmm.
second half of the season. They
Yeah.
were just so bad to start the year. You give him a weapon like Marvin Harrison. If I'm the Bears, I'd trade down and get no lower than third. So
Mm-hmm.
you trade with Washington or you trade with New England. You stockpile a couple extra picks, and then you take Marvin Harrison and you give your young quarterback, who's now only going to enter his third year, a
Yeah.
superstar potentially receiver.
Oh yeah, a game-changing superstar.
Yeah.
There's no. It's funny, we say that about quarterbacks and can't miss, and yet we're going to talk about the receiver who's can't miss, and
Hmm.
apparently children are arriving home from school. Um, it's plus it gives you an opportunity to build the offensive line. I mean, let's
Hmm.
face it, Chicago's offensive line is dreadful. What that's the other thing too. You can have a great quarterback and you can have some skill guys, but if he's on his butt, he's not making plays.
Hmm.
So how does this affect Dallas with Dan Quinn not only out of the building, but now Dan Quinn's in the division?
Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, and that's going to be the one thing that makes you think, because obviously he knows the weaknesses likely of the his two biggest competitors.
oh yeah.
Obviously, you scout for Philadelphia so much. Obviously, with the Cowboys, you're across the hall from the other best offense in your division, and in Dallas. It makes it interesting, but there's still a lot of holes to fill if you're Washington. Quarterback obviously is the biggest one, but they can't block. Sam Howell
Hmm.
was running for his life. Jacoby Brissett, when he was their quarterback, was running for his life. Brian Robinson, the running back, is about the only piece that you can say, okay, he's here for the long term.
Hmm.
McLaurin's been a good receiver. He's not elite. Couldn't tell you who their tight end is, to be honest. I
Yeah.
mean, so they've got a bunch of holes. It's just you got to start somewhere. Obviously, it's going to be a quarterback at number two, if not number one, if they trade up.
Yeah. I mean, their defense has ability. Greg Curl
Hmm.
and the guys in the secondary. I mean, the defense is not, I was shocked that they went defense because they just got rid of Rivera, who was
Hmm.
defense. And usually it's, the hot thing now is to go with the offense. So, yeah, it's going
Hmm.
to be, and then who's Dallas turn to? Is it Belichick? Who knows?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, that changes the whole dynamic now.
If I'm Jerry Jones right now, as I try to pick up my lid that I dropped, I go to Mike McCarthy and say, "Hey, we're not going to take your salary away. You're the head coach of the offense, but you're not the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys."
Yeah.
And it's like Bill Belichick is now our head coach, and he's our defensive coordinator. Essentially, you have two head coaches, and they don't have to interact with each other. They stay on their side of the hall. Bill Belichick's the defensive coordinator. You're the offensive coordinator, but he's got the title of head coach.
But well, it'd be interesting to see if he would do that because I would think the reason Belichick doesn't have a job right now is because he wants control over personnel,
Yeah,
which, as you know, has not worked out very well
correct.
of
But
late.
also, like, I think Belichick wants to keep coaching because he wants the wins record, and he
Yeah,
wants to give that double bird to Shula.
yeah.
What better place to pile up wins than the team who's won 10 or 11, 12 games each year for the last 3 or 4 years? And you've got the young quarterback, you've got a great offensive line, you've got good receivers, you've
Hmm.
got a pretty good defense,
You're in a winnable division. Let's be honest.
and it gives you a player who a lot of people have compared to one of the greatest linebackers that he coached in Lawrence Taylor. He would know how to get more out of him.
That's true. I mean, it does make a lot of sense. And well, plus, if Belichick sits out the whole year, I mean, he's going to be what, 74 next year?
He'll be 72 in April.
Okay,
Look,
it'd be hard to
yeah,
kick the tires on that,
I
you
agree.
know?
And you never know what jobs are going to be open next year.
Yeah. Well,
You-
Phil, Philly should open this year. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't see Sirianni lasting. Um,
Thanks.
so Philly be down. The Giants could come open. He's not going there. I mean, that division is winnable.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. So yeah, I like that. That's an intriguing thought. I like that. Belichick to Dallas. You heard it here first. Credit
Yeah,
Bobby when you hear it first. So Ben Johnson going back to Detroit, did that surprise you?
a little bit. I thought he was a lock, but we talked last week. Sometimes it's to wait for that perfect opportunity means a lot, and
Hmm.
he's not getting a raise, which is surprising. And then they came out and said that he's
Really?
going back to Detroit for the same it's on the same contract.
Wow.
So I think one, the bad taste that they have in their mouth from essentially letting a conference championship slip away from them. You want to come back in that. Most of their offense is coming back. They're all pretty young, with the exception of the offensive line.
Hmm.
And again, I mentioned, I mean, there's going to be 8 jobs more than likely. That's kind of the it number. About 25% of jobs come open every year in the NFL. Maybe he's got a better opportunity to be successful long term. What's that? Maybe it's the. I'm just going to say the example. I don't think obviously McVay's not going anywhere, but maybe a job
Yeah.
like the Rams comes open or something that's better an opportunity than the Commanders or the Falcons.
Yeah. Well, timing is everything.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's a reason jobs are open
Hmm.
because things aren't going well. They're hiring you because the last coach didn't work out
Yeah.
90% of the time. So, yeah, and things change. I mean, the Ravens are going to be different now. Obviously, with Mike McDonald gone, going to Seattle.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know who you get there.
Yeah, I mean, just think about next year though. Like, just really play devil's advocate. Say Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers is a shell of himself, and the Jets go 6-11.
Hmm.
Salah's probably out.
Oh yeah, but then
Um,
you're stuck with a quarterback who's 42 years old and is
well,
going to
he's going
be
to retire at that point.
yeah,
Uh,
but a lot of dead money, right?
yeah, more than likely.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because you never know. And
the
well,
Cardinals could potentially be open if they're bad again.
Dallas,
Dallas could be open, yeah, if they don't win championship or if they at least get to a conference championship.
yeah,
I mean,
it'll
honestly,
be
the
open.
best situation right now in the NFL, and you're going to laugh at me for saying this, other than the 49ers and obviously the Chiefs, the
Hmm.
Houston Texans. I
Oh
mean, they are
yeah,
set up to succeed for the next decade.
yeah. As long as ownership doesn't screw it up,
Yeah.
which is your only concern there. Yeah. So incredible. So that and now Senior Bowl's going on, so trying to keep
Hmm.
up with that a little bit. But I don't know. Can you really tell anything at Senior Bowl? Do you think?
Nah, you and I can't. I mean, unless we
Yeah,
dissect every one-on-one rep.
yeah. But I mean, they've got film on all these guys. I think
Yeah.
it's more or less confirming what they think, just
Yeah.
the eye test. So we'll see how that works. And there's a Senior Bowl and there's another one too going on, right?
Is it the Shrine, East West Shrine
Yeah, I
game?
think so. I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah, there's another one going on. So we'll see how that all plays out. All right, let's turn to Razorback basketball. Hogs beat Missouri,
Hmm.
shorten the bench.
Yeah.
No Brazil, no Devo. Of course, Devo's gone. We haven't talked since the Kentucky game. Um, I think the Kentucky game proves that Bud Walton Arena is worth 15 points.
I told you, I think it's worth at least eight,
It's
eight to
got to
10.
be. I mean,
Yeah.
how else do you explain that game being as close as it was when you've got a team like Kentucky playing a team that is so offensively challenged?
Yeah. Well, it started with defense. I mean,
Oh,
Kentucky
yeah.
shot the ball poorly for the first 12 to 14 minutes, and then you hold them to almost 30 points less than their average. And so you got to give a little credit to Arkansas and the game plan that they
Oh,
had
yes.
and the execution. It's just they couldn't throw the ball in the ocean from the Titanic either.
Yeah.
Tremont Mark is a better player than he showed against Kentucky. And guess what? Kentucky's defense and their length does that to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes 4 of 13 in that game, and if he goes 6 of 13, Arkansas might win it. And as ugly as that game was, we knew it was going to be a one run. It's all it's going to
Mm-hmm.
take. And Kentucky went on the 7-0 run late in the game, and they put it away.
Yeah.
But I think what we saw though is Arkansas has put the first 20 games behind them and said, okay, if we're not going to play for each other, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And the guys that they played, and obviously it was a shorter bench last night as they blew out Missouri. I know the game ended up being a lot closer than the actual score felt like it was.
Yeah.
But they said, okay, this is our group. And Mikael Mitchell, my God, where have you been?
Ooh. Yeah. Last two games. If you told me, okay, Mitchell is going to be against Kentucky, he's going to be your leading scorer and he's going to have a double double.
Yeah.
I
And he
mean,
goes back
you're,
to back though. 19
yeah,
and 14 last night.
incredible. It's like, where's this been all year?
Yeah. He looks like a
So
superstar.
yeah, and what a difference it makes for this team to have somebody that can actually score down low.
Yeah. And Graham's getting more minutes. I think Graham, the way he's been playing of late, 6 of 11 shooting last night. I mean, and Muss has said it for 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, maybe even longer. They got to
Mhm.
figure out what they're doing at point guard.
Yeah,
Minifield goes from a DNP against Kentucky and logs 30 minutes last night. So I don't know what they're doing, but
yeah,
16 off the bench for him, 19 off the bench for Mitchell, 22 for Mark, who obviously played a lot better. I mean,
yeah.
that's the Arkansas we expected to see, not what we've been seeing in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, it was just so bizarre. Graham picked up his fourth foul against Kentucky. We never saw him again. Kentucky makes the run, takes the lead, then goes up two possessions. At that point, you're just like, it's
Mhm.
over because Arkansas
Yeah.
cannot put two offensive possessions back to back. And it was a shame because that place was so ready to erupt
Yeah.
if they could have done anything offensively. But, you know, Missouri seems to always be the turning point. I don't know why, but it was a little. At one point, it looked like Connor Vanover was on track to score 40 points. And if that happened, I was ready to just walk away from college basketball.
Yeah. But I mean,
But
so you win the game on the road and you put up 90 in the process, 91.
yeah,
You only take 6 3-pointers. So like
which
this
is
team kind of
mind
figured it
boggling.
out
Yeah.
that hey, we're not a great shooting team. Let's get to the basket. Let's get to the foul line. Many times than not, if you shoot more free throws as a road team, you're going to be successful. 26 to
Hmm.
22 last night in the free throw advantage. I mean, those are the type of things that this team needs to do. They need to muck up games. They need to win at 60 to 55. Because you try to go score with South Carolina or Kentucky or any tournament caliber team, odds are you're not going to have the ammunition to enter that gunfight.
Yeah. That's not what I expected last night. Almost
No.
50 points at halftime. You're like, wait, this is the same team that was so offensively challenged against Kentucky. So maybe
Yeah.
Kentucky plays better defense than we give them credit for. But I mean, is this the annual Muss has finally got them on the same page and they figured it out and we're shortening the rotation and here we go.
Shortening the rotation is the first step, and he always does that. But I'm not going to say beating the worst team in the conference is like the springboard. I'm not going to go that far.
Okay.
But LSU, Georgia, your next two, obviously
Should be
middle of the
winnable.
pack teams,
Yeah.
middle of the road teams in your conference should be winnable games. Not going to say you are going to win them, if you can find a way to win both of those. Where are they at here? At
Well, if you,
LSU, at home against Georgia, you can
yeah.
still back to back road games and then pluck one at home against Georgia, and then maybe you got some confidence with Tennessee coming to town.
Yeah. I mean, if you just show the hustle and just, the camaraderie,
Yeah,
picking a teammate up off the floor when he hits the deck, just those little things. Um, man, did they need it? Because I know the rumors have been flying
yeah.
crazy. I mean, sure, in Central Arkansas as well as Northwest Arkansas. Good Lord, the rumor mill has been working overtime. It's insane. Um, and I think a lot of it's just people are frustrated.
They
Football
are.
was bad. Basketball was in the tank. Baseball hadn't started yet, so it's like got to have
I,
something.
yeah, sky's falling.
Oh my,
I got to overreact to something today, so today
whew.
it's basketball.
But man, has the overreaction been insane?
It has been. Oh,
I
fire
mean,
muscle man. I mean, how many
yeah.
times have you opened up Twitter and like people are ripping a coach who's been to the Sweet 16 3 straight years?
Oh, it's crazy. Like suddenly he forgot how to coach. I mean, the players haven't worked out. I
Yeah,
mean, it
happens.
happens,
Yeah,
but good Lord. And then when his wife's got a tweet that people need to quit asking her daughter I mean, that is insane.
yeah.
But I guess that's the world we live in now.
Well, there's two things there. One, stop being idiots and stop tweeting at or asking an eighth grader. But two,
Or
your
in
eighth grader should,
person.
yeah, or
Yeah.
in person. Or two, your eighth grader shouldn't have social media either. But
No,
that's
but
that's them.
I read it that people are going up to her and asking her
Yeah,
because you can block social media. Everyone should even probably get off social media, but
yeah,
it's it's crazy. But we have social media
we
at
do.
HPMM Podcast on the X, Twitter, whatever, and at Gmail. You can email us as well. We should be back in our regular virtual world next week. We got a new computer coming, hopefully. So we'll be rocking. So time's about to run up. So final words on this wild Thursday as we head into a footballless weekend.
Yeah,
Guess we got to
just
clean the garage.
Yeah, maybe I have to rake some leaves.
Oh,
So you move the man cave inside. But I'm gonna spend this weekend thinking about the menu for next week, and then I'm
mm,
gonna come back refreshed. And next week when we hit it, we're gonna have a full menu for you. We're gonna break
good.
down what's going to go happening on plenty of crock pots.
Yes.
I think if you're at a Super Bowl party that has less than 3 crock pots, you're not at the right party. I'm a firm believer of that.
Can see that.
Three crock pots, a minimum of at least 3 different dips, and you got yourself a good time.
Nice. Hey, and the nice thing about having a video podcast now, we can show the pictures of the Super Bowl parties and the crock
Bingo.
pots. So glorious. All right. Well, that will do it for this edition of the Hospitality Room. Again, hit us up on Twitter, HPMM Podcast, HPMM Podcast at Gmail. Let us hear from you, and we will talk again with you next week. For Bobby and Blair, we'll talk to you next week.